All right, everyone, it's 2:30 and we will start on time and we will end on time, guaranteed today. So thank you for joining me for this course. It's in a module on engaging families, and it's the last course in that module, family and community partnerships. And it's fine that if you haven't taken any of the other courses, I just want you to know there are others available that can build on your knowledge if you find this information helpful. The content is from New York State Education Department, and it is put together and presented today by Solved, and they are a CTLE approved vendor. So you will be getting a CTLE credit for this, and I will tell you more about how that works at the end of this presentation, but know that information is coming. My name is Dr. Caroline Hoppenwasser. I'm an instructional consultant for Solved. I have a PhD, particularly focusing on literacy education, and I've spent the past 25 years as an educator, either in public schools or preparing people to be teachers in public schools. So I'm happy to be here with you today while we're making sure everyone's getting in. I'd love to hear about who you are today. So you could tell us the grades or subjects you teach or your role in your school. And then this is my burning question for you. Time change. Are you for it or against it? We had to fall back. How has it affected what goes on in your classroom or school or your home life? It's driven my animals insane. They've lost their minds. Oh, we have 8th grade ELA, we have 1st grade. What I love about doing professional development about families, we can have a wide range of grades, subjects, roles in the school. Everyone has to find a way to work cohesively with families. So let's talk about our norms, and hopefully some more of you will have time to check in the chat. Let us know what you think about the time change in the chat. Here are our group norms. Be here now, take an increased stance, stick to protocol, and hear all voices. This green one, I will make sure happens. We started on time and we will end on time. Take responsibility for impact and ground statements and evidence. This session is being recorded, so you're welcome to be on camera or off. You can I'd love it if you came off of mute and talk to us or share in the chat. The more interactive you are, the more we can learn from each other. So thank you for being here today. As I said, this is course F in engaging families. We have A through E. That will be running D and E actually tomorrow. And then A through F will run again between now and Christmas or winter break. So I'll give you more information at the end on how you can sign up for other free courses in this series through Solved at the end of our presentation. So here's what we're going to be working on today. Our essential questions are: how do we develop school, family, community partnerships? And how can community engagement align with our curricular goals? We're going to describe the benefits of developing community partnerships to improve student learning outcomes, as well as brainstorm strategies for developing community partnerships and integrating them into learning opportunities. So, just a small agenda for an hour. As you know, in an hour, we get enough information to really start thinking about. So, we've got an SBST family worker. We've got a kindergarten paraprofessional. Thank you so much for being here and checking in the chat with me today. I'm going to share now what we call the note catcher. It's a document that you can use. I'm going to share the link in the chat right now that has all the pertinent information and places for you to take notes today. So when you open it, it will ask you to make a copy. And then you'll see you have a link here to our slide deck. You'll have space. We have some key terms today we're going to go over. And then we have a couple of activities, and there's spaces on your note catcher for you to engage with those activities, as well as more information about signing up for CTLE credits. So please take a moment and open the note catcher. Oh, we have the school nurse. You see everybody. That's exciting. Okay, so please take a moment, see if you can open your note catcher. If not, let me know what's going on and we'll see if we can fix it. And let's start with some of our key terms today. We have family school community partnership, symbiosis, and service learning. Those are going to be the things we're focusing on developing today. So here we go. When we think about family school community partnerships, they are relationships we're building that are characterized by a shared responsibility and a reciprocal dynamic. So all parties are giving, all parties are receiving. Everyone has a stake in the game so that everyone feels included, and that means they're included in decision making there as well as taking action. So schools and other community agencies and organizations engage families in meaningful and culturally appropriate ways. And throughout this presentation, you're going to hear that phrase repeatedly, culturally appropriate ways. And if you want to know more about that, thinking in particular about tapping into families' funds of knowledge and cultures, you can register for some of the previous courses in this module where we talk about that extensively. And families take initiative to actively support their children's growth. So everyone's engaged. Everybody has a stake in the process. And community and family talents and skills are leveraged to enrich school learning. Schools engage and support their community in turn. So when this is fully developed, fleshed out, and flourishing, is a beautiful, vibrant relationship between family, school, and community. So to continue thinking about this, family, school, community partnerships are relationships characterized by a shared responsibility and a reciprocal dynamic. So let's think about that for a moment. And in your note catcher, we're just going to take a minute. We're going to do just some short stop and jots today, where I'm going to set a timer for a minute. And I want you to just think about right now, do you have currently any iteration or variation of a partnership that's happening that has a shared responsibility and reciprocal dynamic happening now, whether it's a family school partnership, a school community partnership? Take a moment and think about what that looks like or doesn't look like. If your school doesn't have that, think about why, possibly. I'm going to set a timer for a minute for a little jot about that. All right, time's up. It's amazing how fast a minute goes by, isn't it? All right, so we've thought about family, school, community partnerships and that definition and how that is or isn't happening currently at your school. The next term is symbiosis, which is the interaction between two different organisms living in close physical association and typically to the advantage of both. And so we're seeking to create school, family, community partnerships that are symbiotic. So maybe you're thinking, oh, symbiotic, I've heard this term before. Probably not since biology, unless you're a biology teacher. But if you think about in nature, we hear about this a lot. For example, those birds that sit on the alligators' faces and they pick their teeth. And so the alligators get dental work and the birds, no predators bother them because nobody messes with alligators' friends. So we're seeking to create mutually beneficial relationships with, as the school, the two groups that are most important and closest to us, our community and our families. And the last of our terms that we're going to define as we move through this presentation is service learning. And service learning is a form of experiential education. Learning occurs through a cycle of action and reflection as students seek to achieve real objectives for the community and deeper understanding and skills for themselves. So I'm going to set another short timer. And for your stop and jot for service learning, just take a moment and jot down anything that your school currently does or any experiences you've had with service learning. And I've just admitted some people, so if you're just joining us, we've been defining some terms. And if you're just joining us, I'm putting a document that is a note catcher to help you with, it's got all the materials for today. So please go ahead and open that and welcome. All right, so thinking about service learning, we did a little stop and jot to see what your experience with it is so far. And now this takes us to our first activity. So I'm going to give you a few moments to identify and briefly describe you or your school's current community organization partners. Maybe you don't have any. Maybe you would like some. If you do have them, how do these partnerships support student learning in cross environments? And I'm going to give you 2 minutes to write, and then I'm going to put you into some breakout rooms to discuss what kind of current community organizations or partnerships you may have or what you would like to have. So the timer starts now, 2 minutes to answer this question. And then we'll go into breakout rooms to discuss your responses. I'm going to put the note catcher in the chat one more time, just to make sure everybody has it. Okay, I'm about to open the breakout rooms. You're going to go in your breakout room and discuss what you've done in your thinking about activity 1. And you're just going to have about 5 minutes. So this is a quick check-in. If you can turn your camera on, it's very helpful to your fellow participants to see each other. But if not, we understand. But please come off of mute and speak with each other. So you should now be able to join your room. I've opened them. All right, we have people returning from the breakout room. We have a little more time there, so we're going to let everyone come back. But if you've already come back, would love if you would share in the chat with us something your group discussed, or any community organization partners you currently work with. Here we come. Everyone's back. So welcome back. I would love in the chat, or you can come off mute and share with us what you were discussing in your group, or any community organization partners that you or your school currently work with.
Hi, this is Miss Martinez. I was sharing with Keishi Basil Walker that we're in a high school setting, and our school has a relationship with Read Alliance as well as Junior Achievement. And although I'm a paraprofessional, I wear multiple hats. So I actually recruited the organizations to work with our school. This is our 4th year with Junior Achievement and our 2nd year with Read Alliance. So Read Alliance, what they do is they come in and they recruit and have sort of like when you're applying for a job, the student has to like reading and literacy and want to work with younger children in an elementary school setting to teach and help increase the literacy knowledge for elementary school students. So we adopt a school not too far from our high school. So then they have an opportunity to have a part-time job in an academic setting. And they sit down with they're partnered with 2 students so that within these 2 hours, they have 1 student 1 hour and another student another hour. But in the process, way before they actually start their first day of work, they're being trained on how to screen them to determine what reading level they're at, what the books are for that level, and then how they can actually note the progress that the student is making and use a database and record that data there as well. So they're learning different skills in the process. And I think as high school students, their vocabulary is going to increase as well, their leadership skills and other facets of their, just knowledge and soft skills, hard skills. And then with Junior Achievement, they tell us what they can provide, and then they tailor it to see what our school is seeking to do. So they might have an actual curriculum, a high school curriculum that a teacher can adopt for a certain semester, like economics, and they have the instructors and they have the curriculum and they have the volunteers that can work with that classroom. Or we can also do what we call high school heroes. So they come in and they train students who are interested in being a student teacher for a day in an elementary setting. They get provided in-depth training 3 hours after school on 2 separate days. They get their own little briefcases. They go to the school on a designated date. So it's a field trip for them. And they're in that school from the morning first period to the end of that school hour. And they take a lunch. If they're in first grade, when that first grade class takes a lunch break, they have their lunch break. And we get the VIP treatment. The principal does a welcome for us in the library. And then they're in the classrooms, but they're working in teams of 3 to 4. So they're never by themselves. They won't feel, anxious about, I'm not so much of a verbal person, I'm not outspoken. So each one's strengths balances each other, so when they're working in teams of 3 to 4 and they're actually teaching, the subject matter is the same, it's financial planning, but it's it's diversified based on the grade level. So they're actually working with students from kindergarten to 5th grade all day long. So that's our wonderful experience.
Wow, that is amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's like where everybody wants to be. That's so exciting. You've got everyone involved. You've got the community organization, you've got multiple schools, you have the students helping each other across grade levels. That's really exciting. So let's talk about how do we get there if we're not already there? How do we as educators form symbiotic relationships with our local community and ensure that it holds up across learning environments? So Ms. Martinez went and she created these contacts. That's one step. That's a lot of work for one person, right? So how do we have sustainable systems? And the first step to creating these, if you don't have any partnerships currently happening, or you want to enrich or grow your partnerships, is you need to gather information. So you think about a comparison of needs and resources. The school and community both have needs, they both have resources. How can they support each other? And by understanding what students and families need and what our communities can offer, we can create the best possible partnership. So how do we do that? Some simple suggestions are, well, first, we know we're the experts usually on what our students need from our classroom experiences. So we need to determine the needs and the resources of our families and our community at large. And you can gather it in town hall style Zoom meetings that allow everyone to attend regardless of transportation or learning modality. You can do detailed surveys with Google Forms, and you can do live Q&A using polling tools such as Polls Everywhere. So you have a group of people, whether they're live or on Zoom, and you create a poll that you share with them and they answer right there, and y'all can look at the results together. So the first step is to find a way to bring these groups together in a way to determine who has what and who needs what, and how can we work together to share those things. And step 2 is generating the plan. So we have the key data on family and community needs and resources. We select the best possible ways to bring schools and communities together. So it's imperative that we choose community partners that have the flexibility to meet the needs of our students in any learning environment. So we should keep in mind what digital tools are available to various partners as well. So the big focus of all of these professional development modules that Solved is doing with the content from New York State is to think about what can we take away from the pandemic for teaching using digital tools. So they've changed it to teaching across learning environments. What can we do in person? What can we do digitally? How can we keep the best of everything to support our families in the most diverse ways? So maybe your school has thought about partnerships before, but they've always thought about them in person. How do we do everything in person? And now we are thinking about how can we use digital tools to support and enhance and create partnerships as well. All right, so here's some choosing flexible partners examples. Academic tutoring organizations with remote, in-person, and hybrid options. Library book talks with virtual options. Museums in your community which offer virtual tours or live programs. So service learning, which we looked at that definition earlier, is one excellent way to create long-lasting symbiotic relationships. And that's what we're going to focus the rest of this time we have together on. So service learning projects fulfill multiple requirements for authentic tasks. And that's what's really exciting about service learning. It's filling some sort of real need that's local, that's happening for your students in their community. So they elevate student choice and voice in their own education. They engage students in self-management, self-motivation, and social skills. And they empower students' responsible decision-making and problem-solving skills. All things that students need to not just succeed in school, but to go and become really incredible citizens and participants in life after school. And so sometimes we think of community service. It's where we go and like pick up trash. Service learning differs from community service in that service learning projects allow students to go deeper. So they focus on meeting both the needs of the community and that of the learner through a mutually beneficial partnership. So it's been shown that service learning can promote a sense of connectedness to the school and the community, including feeling valued by community members, feeling responsible for the welfare of the community, and having pride in one's community and taking action for the benefit of the community. So here are some examples of service learning activities that can be adapted across learning environments. And I'd love if, as we go through these, if you have any experience with them in your school or in your child's school, you either share in the chat or you come off mute and give us your experience with these. So the first example is letter writing, such as starting a letter writing club to students in other states or countries and share stories with the rest of the school. And for younger grades, a tool like a letter writing generator can help students become familiar with the format. As I go through these, I also want you to think, and I would love for you to share any ways you can envision this as something that happens in your school environment. Idea 2, or example 2, is fundraisers. Students can research local service agencies and conduct a fundraiser to highlight and support one of them. Tools like Greater Good and One Cause can help students organize. So this is deeper level because we have all of the planning that is entailed is student generated and working with the agencies to conduct this fundraiser. The students have choice. They're responsible for developing a plan, running the plan, reflecting on the plan, seeing how it went, and amending it, and possibly doing it again in partnership. Community interviews. I love this one. Have students find, interview, and write histories of diverse people in the community. And your digital component can be Google Meets and Zoom are the perfect tools for virtual interviews. And students can use Google Sites or EduBlogs to share their interviews with the wider community. Example 4 is flashcard for peers. So students can make reading or math flashcards for their younger peers using tools such as Cram. Students can create tutoring tools for younger grades and then tutor in person or virtually, which is in line with what Ms. Martinez shared with us. And the last example that is in this presentation, before we watch a video of what this can look like in action, is community maps. Have students make maps of your town or community for newcomers and highlight useful community resources. My Maps and Google Earth both have user-friendly features and map-making tools. So those were some ideas of sort of entry points for community service. You can think about, how might this work with my special school, community, and families. And now I want to share with you, and I'm going to make sure, I'm going to stop sharing and reshare to make sure I'm sharing my sound. An example of what this can look like fully formed and in practice. Share screen with sound. Beautiful. And please let me know if, in fact, I have not shared it appropriately and you cannot hear it.
When we're producing food, there's that purpose, and that brings relevance. It's all about student engagement. And by engagement, I'm not talking about just paying attention. I'm talking about like an emotional, psychological commitment to their learning.
We're always studying these things in the context of this classroom or in a textbook, and that's not necessarily authentic. Service learning is any kind of project or unit that takes the required curriculum and finds applications in the community. So it's gonna end up having a real life product or meaning. You have a third party right in front of you. The school definitely has needs. How can your class meet them? The greenhouse is a really great example of a way that service learning can actually benefit the same group that is doing studying.
Every kid is part of the food system, so the relevance is there. The original vision for the greenhouse was that biology students were going to grow salad greens. Using biology students guaranteed that every kid in the school was going to get exposure. The daily operations of salad green production involves them tending their plants on a daily basis. Each student has 2 of those trays. They plant them, they water them, they monitor them for pests, they thin them out.
We learned all about soil, fertilization, what the plants need, and taking care of the plants in general, which was great.
We harvest them Mondays and Wednesday mornings. Those are taken to the cafeteria and distributed throughout the entire district. The greens are not only eaten here within the school, but they're also eaten at the middle school and the elementary school.
We can use everything that they grow. I pay for the greens. That's why we've documented. They are more apt to take greens from the salad bar if it's something that they've seen and grown. They're a little bit proud of that.
Having so much effect on what we're eating in school, it feels really nice. It feels like you've accomplished something.
We don't necessarily want to get things planted as soon as they can. We want to kind of work backwards from the school year in the fall so that what you're planting, what you're growing will be ready when the kids are back in school.
In my environmental applications class, service learning is a key piece. They get the outdoor gardens started. They'll set up management and harvest plans for the next year's class to come in. Within that structure of the service learning projects, these different initiatives and projects come about. For example, we add different crops, the hoop house, the irrigation system, and aquaponics.
The fish's waste is toxic to us, but when the plants get a hold of it, they can take the nitrogen and other helpful things in it and turn it into food for us.
Which I don't think is... They have action plans that they have to develop. They have different rubrics that they assess themselves, and I assess them every other week to see if they're sticking to those plans. They blog about it at least every other week.
There's lots of opportunities to apply our learning and make it relevant to the real world, because why learn it if it doesn't mean anything?
When I think about how I'm going to incorporate service learning into my curriculum, I first look at what are my objectives? What do I want kids to walk away with by the time this unit is over? How are the kids going to get from not knowing anything to a final product that is useful and helpful? As part of teaching physics, one of the ways that heat transfer can be talked about is through the process of making biochar, which is charcoal used like fertilizer. We're looking at the efficiency of how fast it will heat up water. We need the mass of the wood beforehand, and we need the mass of the unburned wood afterwards. Kids are designing their own systems that will create this biochar. We'll inoculate it with some bacteria and probably see how much does it increase crop yields and do some experiments with that. Service learning projects take ballpark 3 or 4 weeks, which is a substantial commitment, but it's going to be relevant. The kids are going to remember it forever, so it's totally worth it because engagement is so much higher. What do you think? Is it going to change it a lot?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
There really is also this work component to it. It's tied into their grades in different ways, but the level of responsibility, salad greens in a greenhouse. You skip it for a day, and they could die. With that level of responsibility, we didn't realize how big that was going to be.
They have an external reason to care. It's not just about the grades for them. I've often seen kids who are not really that engaged in school come alive when they get to a project that's going to mean something to someone else.
Former students come back and talk about how that, really transformed them.
So that's next level, right? You may be thinking, oh my gosh, how do we even get there? One small step at a time. So in the chat, we were talking about how they're really engaged because it's a product of their labor and they're part of the process from beginning to end. But what I want you to think about is how in your school environment, with what you know about your kids and your families and your community at this point, knowing you still need to gather information as well, what are some ideas of places that you can start? And they can be small. So service learning projects can start as small kernels and grow. So our next activity, activity 2, I'd like you to use your note catcher, and there's a table provided there. I'll show it to you. Use this table and take some time now to identify and describe some potential community partners and how those partners would support learning outcomes. We also have a link here for you that has some project ideas, additional service learning ideas that can be found here. So I'm going to set my timer. And so take some time and go ahead and open this and look at these ideas and think about them and brainstorm. And I'm going to set a timer for 5 minutes to allow you some time to look at the ideas, think about what you know about your community, and fill out this table. And then we will have final comments, and I'll let you know about your CTLE credits and have our final survey. Okay, we have about 15 seconds left. Wrap up any ideas you have. And I would love it if anyone is willing or able to share in the chat. Or there's time. Come off mute and share any ideas you've had for potential partnerships.
Hi, it's Madeline again.
Yes.
Well, I was thinking of what we currently do. We have different student clubs. One of them is called Glamour Gals. And so what they do is, they like to give manicures or make a makeover, like a face makeover, cosmetics. And so they visit a senior citizen center, the local one near the school, with advance notice and planning, and then they provide these services to the elderly women. And they feel like superstars, the women that get their nails done for free or their makeup done for free. And then while they're there, they actually the elderly women like to take our students so they can become like dance partners with them if there's some music playing. So it's really companionship also.
Yeah.
Or also you can visit your local food pantry. Of course, everything planned and coordinated in advance, and you can help them like organize things in their pantry, like stock things, or even work with a food pantry where we do a student collection of foods and cans, like a food drive, and then we go to bring it over. Sometimes we have the other clubs like My Sister's Keeper or My Brother's Keeper, and they'll do volunteer work of that sort.
That's amazing. Your school just sounds so vibrant and full of things to do. But all of those clubs, just starting one and then ramping up the scale. I love, especially the idea of the glamour, the students doing the makeovers and the manicures. And that made me think of not only senior centers, but possibly working with hospice or other organizations. There's so many ways to go and to grow. And it's coming out with these kernels of ideas and then starting and growing. So thank you for sharing that with us. So in order to make sure that I achieve my promise that you will be done at 3:30, I would like to go through the rest of my slides, which are some housekeeping things for you. So tomorrow, Tuesday, November 7th, is Election Day. And at Solved, we're excited to offer you a chance to earn CTLE credits. We have 18 free synchronous courses divided into 6 modules happening. So I'll be doing other family courses, and then we have social emotional learning, English language learners, special ed, all kinds of modules. So I've put the link if you would like to register. We are having classes at 3 different times. So you can take up to 3 classes tomorrow from 9 to 10, 10:30 to 11:30, and 1 to 2. So you can either use this QR code, or I have put the link to these where you can register in the chat. So I want you to know about that. I also want you to know that you will be getting your CTLE credit through email within 24 hours. And you can take more courses from Solved, not just tomorrow. We have synchronous, like you participated in today, and we also have asynchronous, both providing a CTLE credit. So you can use these QR codes to go and investigate those as well. We will have, in addition to tomorrow, the next 6 Mondays before winter break, we will be having professional development that you can come to for free for CTLE credits. Here's an interesting program that Solved is running as well. When you get your email for your CTLE credit, you'll get a unique code. And if you refer 6 NYCDOE staff members to any of our synchronous or asynchronous courses, and they use your unique referral code, you'll get $50 in an Amazon gift card. So get your neighbor across the hall and all up and down through the building to use your code and come get you $50 from Amazon. And the last thing I'd like to share with you.
I'm sorry, can I just ask a question? And how do you know what your unique referral code is?
It's a great question. It will be included in the email that sends your CTLE credit. So you'll have it in that email within 24 hours. Okay, so the last thing is we have a feedback survey because we're always trying to make things better for you here at Solved. So please take a moment. I've just put the link in the chat and I'm going to go ahead and do it again. This is a very short survey, and that's what we have the rest of this time for, is for you to fill it out. And while you do that, I'll let you know that if you have any questions, you can unmute and ask them, or you can email me at caroline.hoppenwasser@solvedconsulting.com. But if you have questions about your CTLE credits, you can also reach out to admin@solvedconsulting.com. So if for some reason you didn't, the slides are shared on, they're at the top of your note catcher. So you should be able to, if you've been able to open your note catcher, Ms. Martinez, you should be able to very easily click on there. So let me know if that's working for you. And this information is in these slides here for you, but the CTLE related inquiries, the admin@solvedconsulting.com can help you if you don't receive your email within 24 hours. So now, once you have opened your survey, you are free to go. If you'd like to stay right here and fill it out, I'm going to keep this meeting open a little bit longer. If you have any questions or comments, I'm always happy to stay here and chat with you. And I want to thank you again for coming today. And I hope you will join us again for this PD series from Solved.